Mr. Byrd.
Dan.
Thanks for being with us today. You know the backstory a bit on Burn the Map, right? We talk to people that have the fire in their belly. Some of the crazy ones, the people that just, it's always like, no. I'm working on something because I have to work on this thing.
Yep.
It needs to exist. And they said, ask you about Archon and what it is and why you built it. So what is it and why the hell did you build it?
Hey, well, thanks. It's great to be with you. And I do like that quote. I think there's a lot of great quotes out there from people like Steve Jobs, and it's those people who have accomplished something that seems impossible. Right. They're usually the ones that have the quotes that leave you. Sometimes they sound like cliches too. Like, love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. It's like, oh, how nice of you. Well, but it's also kind of true. When you find something that you really love doing, you enjoy doing, you believe in the mission that you're trying to accomplish, it's not work. It's fun. And when you're trying to build something based on solving problems, instead of only chasing a dollar, usually the dollars are a byproduct of trying to solve problems you're passionate about.
Yeah. Wholeheartedly agree. I mean, the toughest days to show up are oftentimes the most significant one in your company history, right? And usually it's the days that pay the least, at least compared to the insanity that you have to put up with, that make the difference between the people that really kind of make it and don't, right?
So to answer a little bit of the story or your question, what is Archon? I first have to answer what is RCN. Archon is our annual conference that we hold.
Sure.
RCN is kind of the overall company that is focused on bringing to light information about emerging technologies that specifically impact the built environment industries. And what we say fall within built environment are people who are involved in constructing, building, operating, maintaining physical assets. So it spans from construction companies who are building apartments to transportation and bridges to people operating airports. And it all comes down to what are these new technologies that improve how we build, how we measure existing spaces and conditions, how we create digital replicas of that, how we use AI to analyze data to predict things. So at a high level, it's all about emerging technologies. And the foundation of this came from working in the industry. I worked in surveying and I got into some of these technologies and I was a user of them for years. And I ended up building a service company where we would go support firms using these technologies. And the conference and even podcast came from identifying gaps in education. People would hear about a laser scanner or a drone being used, and they'd start asking questions because nobody knew, why would they want to use a laser scanner? Why would they want to use a drone on a project? How is that actually going to help? What's the process? How much does it cost? What's the benefit? All of these question marks from everybody I talked to. And I said, what if we could proactively start answering these questions by having conversations with people and recording them? And that's where the podcast started. And then we decided to start an actual conference. We said, okay, if we're building the knowledge base and we're building relationships with people, even more than just content, how about we bring them together and let hardware vendors and users and construction firms all connect in person, see the technology, answer questions in person. And that was where we started Archon, which is our annual conference. And that's kind of the same initiative and goal there, is bring together emerging technologies, create an impactful stage where we bring in speakers from around the world that work with emerging tech to present on. We, without, using their name, of course, we call ourselves a, TED type conference of the built environment. We want to make it look cool. We want to show it off to people. We want to film it and put content out because that's how we think we can raise awareness to an industry.
just so, not that I'm disagreeing with it, but why the, what did you call it? The built environment? Why that specific vertical? Why is, like, I mean, obviously you've come up into it, but what
Yeah.
about it is infatuating about the built environment that makes it such an interesting vertical or way to position the premise?
Well, I think one of the whys for me as an entrepreneur is because that was what I lived in, right?
Yeah.
When you work in a space and you identify pain points in a space and you find a path to solve problems in that space, you're the best positioned person to do so.
Sure.
Um, it's where my experience is. I've worked on hospitals and airports and freeways. I've done the work in those industries with those companies. So I understand the pain points and I can talk directly to them. I can use actual examples. I can bring together the technologies that I know solve specific problems in that space. And I think that's how often I think startups try to just come up with some random idea they think might solve a problem when they've never experienced the pain points.
Sure.
And I think that's a lot harder to do than identifying a pain point that's actually in something you have experience in. So, one, it's naturally what I fell into. Two, why is it important? Well, it's everything in our world, right? Built environment. If we're talking about the need to improve our roadways and our freeways and our transportation systems and the flow of traffic and build hospitals, renovate spaces, improve flow in airports, and design new oil and gas facilities. I mean, the built environment really encompasses everything that we construct and build that is maintaining society. So I think it's a pretty interesting vertical.
Oh, it is. I wasn't disagreeing. I come from a little bit of that. My dad owns a foundry, and there's a while there, if you've ever heard of it, Hilti. I worked at Hilti.
Oh yeah,
in San Francisco, a steel and metal specialist out there.
nice.
And there's a lot of like pride in that space where like you're driving around the city and stuff like that, and you're like, I worked on that
I
building.
built that.
All those guys in those trades and stuff, they're like, I did that. Or
Yeah.
That building is
Yep.
shit.
Yep.
Goes
Yeah.
both ways. But there is a ridiculous amount of pride that comes with building in the physical world that I absolutely very much respect.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah.
So.
And it's a huge industry. It's a multi-trillion-dollar right construction, all the trades. So, there's a big opportunity there. One, when it comes to money and to revenue streams, there's a big opportunity there when it comes to improving ways that things have been done for 100 years and no one's integrated technology for. I think that's one of the reasons that we're focused there is over the last, 20, 30 years, so many new technologies have come out that can solve problems that are currently still being done some old manual, laborious, expensive way. And so we focus on that industry by saying, let's look at what are all the technologies that could improve the process, and let's try to educate where they can solve problems and what it solves and how it helps. Yeah.
Since COVID, there's been pretty tremendous changes and stuff. Like, what are some of the really cool ones? Like, I mean, this is one where I've thought about this a lot. Just the amount of available commercial real estate over the last kind of 10 years, just going up. I don't know about exponentially, but probably not far from exponentially. And the amount of sensors. I mean, I remember working on a kind of a project with some people around what you could do just by tapping into a Wi-Fi of a given location. Stuff like we can figure out what the phone is doing based off the accelerometers in someone's pocket. We can figure out what they're facing and then turn on a TV screen with an advertisement specifically targeting them because we know they're the only one currently looking at the TV right now.
It's wild.
Going, holy crap.
Yeah.
And that was 8 years ago? 8 years ago. Like Wi-Fi cities and stuff like that. What are some of the biggest disruptions that you're watching that kind of get you excited right now?
Well, I think for us, there's a lot of technologies, but partially what we're really focused on is the idea of digitizing physical spaces. That's a big part of our industry. One, because it really is useful in construction, in building, but also two, there are major things that can be done with data and with information when you have digitized spaces and you have sensors. such as like we could talk about autonomous driving.
Yeah.
You know, without accurate physical maps, without accurate measurement devices and sensors on vehicles, autonomous driving could never happen.
Yeah.
It is starting to become more and more adopted. You go into major cities and there's cars driving themselves with no drivers, picking you up, dropping you off. And I see this future of that continuing to integrate into more areas of workplace. Employees in retail centers will probably be robots at some point.
Oh yeah. Did you see the Pokemon Go news?
I didn't see that one yet. No.
Oh, okay. You know Pokemon Go.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So apparently, I can't remember the firm behind it.
Niantic.
Yeah. So they were recording everyone's phone and accelerometer movement. So
capturing the data.
30 billion.
Yep.
30 billion paths to basically make way for robotic couriers.
Yep.
So they just found out like, hey, you weren't just playing Pokemon Go. You were actually training a model with 30 billion instances on what and where other obstacles and stuff like that. So now that they can basically figure out where can the robots roll versus where can do they have to avoid because of steps or whatever else. And basically it was one of those, like, that wasn't a game. That was a huge training
you
exercise.
Were all free employees mapping the world. But those are the types of things that we see and we look at of how do these technologies affect the future of different industries. You know, it takes technology to accurately use robotics and have AI integrate and have autonomous delivery from a drone of something you ordered from Amazon delivered to your house in an hour. You know, the future is going to be even more technological than it is today. And it's all these technologies and the people working on them and talking about them and trialing things and failing things that create the path for what is possible. So to me, I can't say there's one piece of technology I look at and go, this is what I'm really excited about right now. I'm actually just excited about that whole ecosystem of digitizing and what it creates for possibilities with robotics, with AI, with autonomous driving, autonomous delivery. Because I think a lot of the things that technology replaces when we talk about, is AI going to take over my job? The same with robotics, the same with all these other systems. It's like, it will take over some jobs, but for the most part, tedious, laborious jobs that people don't really enjoy. So it's cool to think about, let's start solving some of those problems and be proactive in doing so and figure out what are the other jobs going to be and what creativity can people start to have instead of having to do the laborious ones.
I would concur. I've definitely seen a lot of that. I mean, even gone through it myself and stuff. A lot of like get familiar enough with the automation that's available out there to go like, oh, it can actually take care of a significant portion of my day. Like, and a lot of the stuff that I'm doing that's remaining and stuff is still very interesting. It's very much like I'm burning brain calories. Like, I'm tired at the end of the day, just going, I had to think a lot today. And so a lot of those things where I go like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore, simultaneously comes with, well, actually I can get a hell of a lot more done. And it is largely more interesting stuff as well.
It
is one of those where you go like, what does that world kind of look like? I mean, if you had to jump 5 years ahead, like I do kind of sit back oftentimes and just go, okay, so assuming that happens and you see like that displacement of a lot of, like, let's not necessarily say jobs, but let's say tasks. A lot of those jobs do get displaced. I mean, you know, like some of the ones that are actually the least replaceable are construction, are groundskeeping, are like, if you're in those blue collar trades, you're about as safe as you can get right now. I think we got a while before we have outdoor robots doing like groundskeeping and stuff like that. We'll see if they can actually handle the outdoor weather type stuff. But they seem to be on the bottom end of the list of AI replaces this one soon. But
I think there's a certain amount of all jobs that will remain. I don't think technology is going to fully replace just tons of roles 100%, but it's going to make them easier, more efficient, maybe need less of them. So even when we talk about things like, is AI replacing the need for programmers or coders? That's a huge conversation. And it's like, it's not replacing all of them, but it's reducing. Maybe you'll only need 20% of the people you used to. You still need those 20%, and you need them to learn how to use the tools and the technology. Or you keep all the people, they all know how to use the tools and tech, and now you can build even better, bigger, more maintenance, more whatever. I think it's going to be quite a while before this idea of technology just 100% replacing jobs. No one knows what to do for work anymore. I think that's the fear that some people have. I'm like, it's not there. It's going to take a while. We could go the route of what jobs will it start to reduce or improve, but I'm more interested in the problems that it can solve or the new things. Like, I love autonomous driving. I think that in 10 years, the majority of the cars on the road will be autonomous. You will get in your car, you'll tell it where you want to go, and it will drive you while you're hanging out or you're on your phone or you're whatever. And the problem is the mix of real drivers and autonomous make it challenging, because you get people that are breaking rules and cutting people off, and you get things like that. When the majority of cars are autonomous, it's actually going to save lives. It's going to make things way better, because they're going to go slower. They're going to follow the rules. They're going to get in line. They're not going to cut people off. They're going to be synchronized in how they're driving, the rules they're following. And it's going to improve traffic. It's going to improve safety. It's going to, reduce accidents. Something like that, I think, is a really cool initiative, because it's not just how do we use tech to replace someone's job. It's going to create a whole industry of people that are working on autonomous vehicles and new production and mapping roads and improving signs and doing all this communication and developing AI platforms. But it's also going to actually affect society in a huge way.
You pick a good one, because that's one of those where people I think about that one on the good and the bad side, because I wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said. Simultaneously, I'm also a car guy, and I go, damn it, I like my car. I built a car with my dad. I love that damn car.
I know. Me too.
And I go, I don't, and I threatened my own family with this a while ago. I'm like, hey, heads up, before 2030, you're going to have to make the decision that if you manually drive your car, that people are going to chastise you for putting other people's lives in danger. You're going to go drive your own car is something you're going to hear. Wow. Yeah.
I do. I think we're going to come there. And I
came to terms with I may already be driving the last cars that I ever own. We're like, damn it.
I'm curious to see where it goes. Obviously, what I enjoy about conversations like even this topic is people make these decisions. If everybody votes against autonomous driving, it won't happen. If everybody's for it, it will happen. You're going to have clashes for it, but the future doesn't create itself. Inventions don't create themselves. It's people coming up with these ideas and people creating a following around it, or a conversation around it, or lobbying for it, or working with pitching to government, or, it's all these layers that have to happen for something like this. When it does come to the roads, I recently said on that topic, I think one thing that'll happen for autonomous driving on roads versus non-autonomous is I bet there will be specific lanes. I think you get on a freeway and 3 or 4 lanes is autonomous vehicles. And if you're manually driving, you're in your own lane or 2. I think something like that will be the next step, where it creates some division.
I think one modification from what you said, though, I actually think they'll get faster. I think if you have that many cars and they're potentially using Bluetooth or something to communicate with one another, they'll probably speed up and use that as not only are they safer, but they're faster, to give people even more of an incentive to switch.
Yeah.
Which again, I begrudgingly go,
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and my overall feeling about technology is it's when something starts getting traction, it's going to happen. Yeah. And so what I typically lean on when it comes to new tech is I too like driving by myself. I too like manually doing work. But if it's going to happen, I'd rather be on top of it. I'd rather be with it. I'd rather have a voice about how it happens, then sit back angrily and go, I don't want it to happen. And then it happens. And I'm like, I'm still screwed. I didn't adopt new tech. I didn't get involved. I didn't voice my opinion. I didn't do anything. Whatever it is that you believe, like, have a voice for it. And even if you're against technology, still get involved and have a voice, because you can be a part of how does it happen? How does it get integrated? What are the ethical concerns? Whatever side you're on, I'm an advocate for people getting involved in things.
Well, the fun part too is the zag, right? Like, because there's the get on board, but there is so I was watching Top Gear the other day, and there was an episode where they had the guy Koenigsegg, if you've ever heard of those cars, like supercar. This guy's brilliant engineer, created like one of the only clutches that can shift from an automatic to a manual. Like, you can just throw it into manual and drive it like a normal race car. And he had that guy, the guy from Singer, who does like resto mod Porsches. And they had the CEO of Bugatti come in and basically drive each other's cars and comment on each other's cars. So you have guys that are like at the pinnacle of like the hypercar race, 2,000 horsepower cars. And they sat down, they're like, so what are people asking for now? And all of them, like in sync, went, everybody just wants analog stuff now. They want a clutch, manual. They want not even anti-lock brakes type stuff. They're going like, there's this huge like, okay, cool, I've seen what we can do with all of the cool gadgets and widgets and everything. People just want a normal like 60s 70s era race car now. They want the feeling of being, so there's a zag there where you're going like, there's a weird opportunity for the analog version arising as well, right?
Well, and I think to bring that even to another type of technology, I think there's a similar movement with young people around even something like cell phones. There are pros and cons to new technologies. And cell phones have been designed in a way and gamified in a way that they are addictive. And, you see memes and stuff about it all the time, right? Everyone's just staring down at their phone. People don't know how to even talk to each other anymore. There's entire new business lines of dumb phones that don't have a screen.
I want an e-ink phone. I want an e-ink phone.
It goes back to, how do we use technology for good, but how do we pay attention to not letting it become something that's actually more harmful than helpful? And that's an example with the phones, where there's a lot of young people and young families and whatever, where it's like, hey, we don't want our kids on these devices and addicted, and it's causing all these behavioral problems. And it's very true. So I go back to that stance again, whatever the technology, get involved, know the pros, know the cons, understand where it's a fit, where it's not, and then decide that for yourself. Are smartphones bad in whole? No. But should you have some types of limitations? Yes. Should you have a certain age at which, people get on them? Yes. But if you don't get involved, or you don't do the research, or you don't look at studies, then you just fall into like, well, whatever happens.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for just all technologies, from cars and autonomous driving to robotics in a warehouse to cell phones to XR devices. Are people going to be walking around with smart glasses in the future? I think so. I think a large percent will. But what is that going to look like? What is that going to be? How will it work? We're still in the early phases of that. People get to shape where those things go.
Yeah. I did the couple tidbits on that were kind of nifty. Seeing in the last week that apparently we reached, I think in a good way, peak social media in 2022.
Wow.
We're actually on the decline now. And I go, good. People are now like using social media to follow celebrities and stuff like that. They're not like looking for their friends. And also, I don't even know that they're there anymore. I go look at like a bunch of those platforms and I don't recognize anything on there. I'm like, this is just a list of ads at this point for me, because I haven't been checking on many of them. But which I actually think is a good thing. I feel like I've actually gone through the dopamine addiction type of. I had one of those days, like after watching some podcast where they were talking about the significance of like, put your phone down, don't look at it for the first 2 hours in the morning. Don't look at it at night before you go to bed. And I did a few of those things and I felt like a different person the next day. I was going, like, no, this was real. This was like, holy crap, I'm a way nicer person.
Yeah. No,
I don't look
it
like
is
I
wild.
belong under a bridge today, at least.
No, it's wild, and again, I think in all areas of life, in all areas of technology, there are pros and cons. There are things that you need to limit. There are, and again, I think until people push the limits, they don't know where the limit is. Smartphones have been around long enough. People have done studies. There's actual data to, show, yeah, you shouldn't do it right before bed. Why? It keeps you awake, whatever. The blue light. There's all these things that sometimes it takes doing an overwhelming amount to hit a certain limit or experimentation to then understand, well, where should we narrow this into?
Yeah. I digress a little bit. You've been
Yeah.
building this kind of community for all of these. What's been the hardest part of the journey, so to speak? I mean, if it's stuff that you're already interested in, did you ever get the blowback moments where you're just like, all right, I'm sick of this? One of those like don't meet your heroes moments. It's like, yeah, careful making things that are a hobby into a full-time position.
No.
Good. Well done, sir. Well
Yeah.
done.
Hey, thanks. I still have many years ahead, so I guess we'll see what happens. But no, I love what we do, and part of why is that I'm not fixated on a specific like tool or technology. My whole mission right now is building a community of people that are exploring new technologies, that are looking at, building collaborations and relationships. And so I am more a person connector and a community builder than a deep into technology myself now at this point. So what success looks like for me is people coming to my conference, building new relationships, finding a new job, identifying the right tool that improves their work. Like, it's the satisfaction of helping other people find value. That is what I do, and I think that's part of why I don't get tired of it, because it's just such a rewarding thing to build.
Hard thing to replace, by the way, too. Well,
It is.
to insulate yourself from that same technology that you like, right? It's one of the harder things for it to do, right? It can do the needs analysis and stuff, but the face-to-face stuff is still.
It is. And, as pro technology as we are, right? That's where I still say, as much as I love technology, I'm not doing a bunch of virtual conferences. We're doing in-person conferences because humans like to meet people in real life and shake their hands and build relationships and have an actual face-to-face meet and get to hang out together. Digital only will never satisfy what in-person connection will do. That's one of those examples where, just like with the phone or with autonomous driving, whatever, people still want to drive their car. People want to get rid of smartphones. People need to build relationships with each other. And when our whole goal really is helping people even along their career journey, along their path, all of that happens from in-person building. You don't do it just virtually.
It always is phenomenal when people like line up their marketing campaigns and stuff over the course of the year, and you go like, you realize you can do as much at one conference and getting 25 business cards as you can dropping and sending like 100,000 cold emails, right? Yeah. And one of them's a hell of a lot funner and usually has an open bar at some point.
Yeah, or 4. I don't know. Yep.
Proof is in the pudding in terms of like, what you can do face to face. I don't know if people like post COVID, one of the things that we lost is like, you used to fly places just to sign a contract, right? Like, you're just to put the signature, like, we should definitely be in person. I'm like, I haven't done that in a minute.
No. I think, obviously through COVID, we saw a ton of digital tool adoption. I mean, Zoom calls and meetings and, things like that went up 300,000%. I mean, it became normal to do things virtual. Before that, it was kind of more hesitant. And I think some of that stuck around and some of it fell off. Like, obviously nobody was traveling, so virtual conferences became a big thing. People were doing all these initiatives of like, how do we still do what we've been doing, but virtually? And it was good because it was a requirement and it was needed at that time, but certain things fell back off. Like you just said, people love doing virtual calls, virtual meetings. It reduces travel. It reduces expense. People are used to it now. That stuck around. A lot less need to travel for those types of things.
Yeah. I do like one of the pieces that I do like is it enabled the remote organization.
Yeah.
Before people would be like, oh, I need to find people local. And I've never been that person where I go, no, you don't. I want. And I mean, it's convenient if they are. I got, people that live by me, but one of those, I was like, I need to be able to find brilliant people that are in a basement in Iowa or something.
Yeah.
But like, I do not want to be restricted to I live in Utah, and it's
Yep.
not the most populated place. There's smart people here, but
Yep.
there's smart people everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I want to be able to get to any of them. So
yeah. And even that, I think there's a lot of pros and cons for, right? People, you can hire talent all over the place. You can find people in cheaper areas. You can, there's all kinds of benefits that come from it. But then some companies we saw go fully remote and then fully back, because you also lose part of that, like, team culture and in-person relationship. And I think a lot of that comes down to the company, the leadership, the processes, how do you, maintain some of those things, and management and accountability and stuff when you are remote. I don't think there's a right way to do anything. I think that it comes down to the business type, how the company builds it. I think anything is possible.
What have you learned about building communities? I mean, one of those things I go, hey, like, people ask, like, to some extent, I get paid a little bit of my job is staying ahead of other people. Right. Like, so people come in and they go, hey, what AI should we select? And, or like, there's an ROI component kind of to it. And one of the things that I will oftentimes tell them, like, I go face-to-face relationships, but building a community is an insulator at the very least. The more kind of connections and relationships that you have and foster, the safer you are.
Yeah.
What have you learned about kind of building that community? What's the hard part? What makes the ones that succeed versus the ones that don't?
The first thing that comes to mind, which I've told people, the difference between truly building a community or not, is if you actually care about providing value to other people. There is a selfish and self-serving way to build a community, and there is a true desire to help people way of building a community. And I see it a lot in other businesses where there's these initiatives of, they come off as, hey, we want to help, we want to put on this event, and it's like, but it's all still really self-driven. It's like, no, this is yes, we're community, but it's a sales initiative. It's like, no, that's not how that works. And people identify that quickly in people, is what really is your intent, and what is it that you're trying to do, and how are you serving the people within your community. I don't think there's anything wrong with companies having self-serving or selfish desires to put on an event or have a sales initiative or a marketing initiative. I just don't think that is a community. To me, community is truly building this ecosystem of people who are trying to better each other. And what's difficult about that, I think, it depends on what your business models are, right? Like, you do have to find a way to build a business. If you're truly trying to build a community, what's the purpose in it for you? Why are you going to put time toward it? How do you convince other people to get involved? How do you show that you're truly trying to add benefit to people? There's a lot of messaging and things like that you have to work on.
But you remind me, we did a project once for a little kind of, it was a community driven, like a local kind of, you go out, you have breakfast, you meet your peers in the business community and stuff like that. I remember they had us run, and we did a bunch of kind of personality analysis. Like, word choice is a big part of how it works. You kind of analyze what people say from their own authored content, and it helps understand how they think. We found out that, like, it's called reciprocity. Cialdini's like means of persuasion. But like, the single most common method of persuasion doesn't mean you can like trick them into it, but it does mean like, this is how their brain works. Reciprocity works. Basically, if you do them a favor, they do you a favor. So to some extent, kind of really backed up what you just said. Like, there is actually a scientific significant portion of the population who does work off like balancing the universe of karma, going, hey, they gave me time, I will give them time, right? So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, but also like in a very good, mutually beneficial way, right? Like,
and the thing that I've told people again in around this conversation is, I think there's a big difference though when you give in order to get, or you give without expecting to get. if you think through like where are some times in my past that I've experienced that, you have a complete different feeling about the person and them and their character and what you want to do for them. If they don't ask for anything, it almost makes you want to give to them even more. You're like, man, that guy gave me his time and he didn't even want anything in return. Like, that was so cool. Like, I want to help that guy. Versus you get somebody who comes to you and they're like, oh, sure, I'll do this, but XY, like, there's a string attached. It's already created this like, okay, like,
a little dirty.
So, I tell people that it is very true that you give and you'll get something in return. But I think the better benefit comes when you learn to be a true giver of value without any strings attached, and you genuinely become seen as someone who's just trying to help them. They will it just creates a better outcome. You don't feel weird having all these strings attached. You're not pitching things. You just become a giver of information. I think it's a better outcome.
I like that. Awesome. Where do people find you? Where do they find RCN? Where do they find Archon?
Well, I live on LinkedIn. That's where I actually live. But our website for RCN, which kind of has a little bit of everything that we do, is realitycapturenetwork.com. Our conference is called Archon, and that website is archon2026.com.
Nice. When's the next event?
It is coming up this October.
Nice. Good time. Good time of the year to be up there.
It is. It's really nice time of year. Yeah.
Nice. One other question. Who do you like, especially because you're in that space, who do you follow? Who's got like the most interesting, who's worth watching amongst that kind of community? Who are the people that kind of post the most interesting content in that space? Who are the thought leaders?
Ooh, that really is a good question. There are quite a few people. I think what I'm going to have to do is be a little selective, and I might have to send them to you to include in some show notes. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to do that.
No worries. Totally dig it. Awesome. I appreciate you, Matthew. You're a good man. Go check out the site. Go check out the conference. Good for you. I really like that stuff. I like being around builders.
It is fun.
Builders. People where you can kind of sense that they got their hands dirty is rare, and it's the most difficult part of business. And I go, damn, if you can tell the people that have done stuff from 0 to 1, it's like, that's hard. It's harder than 10 to 20 million. It's way harder. So.
Well, and it's honestly what I love personally about, again, kind of building this community and putting on events is, a lot of people, I think, especially in this digital age, operate in silos. They don't have people around them like them. They don't have an ecosystem or a community of other, leaders, of other business owners, of other, whatever you are, right? I think a lot of people just kind of sit in their lane and do their thing. And what I've found in building a business or building a community or building is connecting with other like-minded people, building relationships with others really helps you along your path. And that's what I see a lot of people in our community and at our events finding is like, we've convinced them to come to this event and they come to it not really knowing what to expect. And they leave with all these new relationships of people to bounce ideas off of and, find new opportunities. And so I just encourage everybody, whether it's our event, it's someone else's event, it's a community, like find a way to connect with like-minded people because it's so much more enjoyable to work when you've got good people around you.
Wholeheartedly agree. You just reminded me my old trick. I don't know. You said you had open bars at yours. Do you have open
bars? We do. Yeah.
Well, it won't work at yours, which is also smart. But I used to go to conferences and instead of like buying the whole booth, because I hated standing at the booth, I would just go get a good budget and I'd just go cover everybody's drinks. And then would send me referral leads for the rest of the year. I'm like, it's the best investment ever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I go and I be cordial. I pay the bar tab and they all hook me up for a year on referral leads. Like,
yeah. No, it's true. It's great. We do a lot of fun happy hour stuff. Like we rent out the whole Boise State football field and do a big party out there. We do a big casino night because we also believe, again, back to this community building, is people like to also have fun together. You know, there's a reason that the old saying of like business is done on the golf course, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you disconnect from your normal job, your normal day at work, and you go meet people and you listen to talks and you watch presentations, and then you go spend a fun happy hour evening together talking and building relationships, that is when you leave with real new opportunities, business, relationships. So we try to make a lot of opportunity for that for people.
I dig it. That's very, very smart. You get them to really break the ice and stuff like that. I do think that's one of the better places too, is just invest in relationships, right?
Yep. Yep.
I went to a class once, kind of a TED Talk thing, but one of the guys was a billionaire. He owned like a billboard empire. And like, I remember his feedback, one of, like, what are the best moves that you made in your career? One of his was like, the way you treat people on your way up is how they help you bounce back when you are bankrupt or whatever. And he's like, the way I treated people when I didn't have to treat them nicely is the reason that after I went bankrupt, I bounced back so quickly.
Yeah.
So those relationships were like everything. And he's the guy, he's the business school of ASU is now named after him. He's like,
oh, nice. Yeah. Awesome, yeah. Awesome. No, it's very true. You know, the saying your network is your net worth. Yeah. You know, does that completely correlate to it's how much you're worth? Not necessarily, but relationships is everything. And I've always been a big fan, even when there's a negative situation, a bad client, a bad employee or whatever, of like trying to not burn bridges and be sure. Good to people. Cause like sure. That example, you never know what the future holds when you'll cross lines with that person again, when they, where they go work in the future, be good to people.
I dig it. Cool. Awesome. Matthew Byrd profile on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah. I know someone else has my name everywhere, I think.
Don't worry. And Archon 2020, Archon 2026.
Yep.
And then RCN. What was RCN?
Reality Capture Network is the full name.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for your time, Matthew. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.